Hi friends, welcome back to part 2 of my vintage storage series, and this week's episode is all about how to use vintage items as storage, and I'm going to show 9 different items that I use for that. And I do the most storing of vintage items in my sewing room, so this is taking place in my craft room, and you might see that it's a bit of a mess, but make sure that you're a subscriber because a part of my storage series is going to be going through my entire sewing room and getting rid of things, deciding what's going in the yard sale, and then also organizing it and making it look super cute. So it's a mess right now, but it will look better in the future. So let's get started. All right, item number 1 is vintage crates. So this one is a crate that I think was always used for records. I can see on here that it used to be, I think, a vegetable crate and somebody painted it. I always used it to store my records until I got an actual record cabinet. So this is great for record storage, but then you can also buy all kinds of crates. So there's fruit crates, which are really big, and those are adorable. That can be used like in a living room to store blankets or other large items. And then there's also smaller crates, which I have one in my sewing room. Here's the crate that I use. It's actually underneath my giant shelving unit. So in here, I love this crate because it has built-in partitions. And so I use this to store all my really cute bias tape, and then also like vintage button packets, and then like little hooks and eye sets. I put them in rainbow order, which really sparks joy. Oh, and I'm going to be showing a bunch of vintage items, and I'm going to link to all these vintage items so you can buy some online if you want to organize your home too. Next on the list is vintage waste paper baskets. So I have one right here. This is a Disney Snow White waste paper basket, and it's actually from my mom. She gave it to me for free because she had it in her antique booth and nobody bought it. I mean, why wouldn't anybody buy this? This is so cute. So I can't believe that I got it for free, and I've never seen another one before except on eBay. I did see one for sale, and it was for sale for like $100. So it's adorable. I love it, and it's perfect for storing really tall wrapping paper, vintage or not vintage. And then much more commonly, you can find like this size waste paper basket, and this is great for holding vintage wrapping paper. So this is, or not wrapping paper, I mean wallpaper. That's wrapping paper. This is wallpaper. Wallpaper, and then also contact paper, I think is what it's called. You know, the stuff that like when you open a vintage dresser, it's lined with adorable paper. So I have some of that. So like I think this is like kitchen contact paper. So these are shorter, and that's really cute for a regular size trash can. Vintage racks are another awesome item. So this is for holding magazines, and I still have magazines on it. That's how I bought it at a yard sale. And then this is a vintage candy rack. So it's for Brock's Candy, and I put pillowcases on it. I think that looks really cute. And they can be a little expensive, but it makes excellent storage, as you can see. Of course, I have to talk about vintage tins, one of my favorite things in the whole world. And these can be used pretty interchangeably, just like the waste paper baskets. Like this is a huge potato chip tin. I got it for $2, if you can believe it. And a lot of people don't buy tins if it doesn't have a top. But if it doesn't have a top, you can just use it to store items. So you can use, I mean, a giant tin. This is for huge rolls of wallpaper, but you can go all the way to like really small tins to store pencils. And then there's also tins like this bread box here. And this is great for storing things like vintage magazine advertisements or vintage magazines in general. I got a really good tip from my friend Amy at Kitty Witty Papercraft to use suitcases to hold scrapbook paper and then wrapping paper, vintage wrapping paper that isn't rolled up but is flat. So that's what's in that big suitcase up there, and it's great because if you have a bunch of scrapbook paper, it's really hard to store that stuff. So that is what I use a lot of my suitcases for. The next item on my list is going to be vintage baskets, and like when I say vintage, I say that term loosely. I mostly mean just colorful baskets. So I mean, this could be from the 90s for all I know, or from today. But this is perfect for holding things like bias tape. It's great for holding anything, really. I have this box up here. I still have the price tag. I paid 50 cents for it at a thrift store. But it's great for holding all my vintage hankies. I just love having colorful boxes to use. You can even use vintage laundry baskets. And then like this one is just an old bucket. So say you only have a few vintage sheets. Like, okay, I have a bajillion. But if you have like 6 vintage sheets. It would look really cute if you rolled them up and placed them all in these little buckets or baskets. Same with vintage towels. You could put them in a basket all rolled up and put them on your counter. That would be really adorable. So here's a little example of how my craft room needs a little bit of help. But I want to show you, this is a cassette holder, and I didn't paint it. Somebody else painted it pink for me, and I bought it at a thrift store this way. But I store all my vintage patches in here, and then also like I have like all these little wood spools, and then I also store my pins in here. So these cassette container thingies you can buy at thrift stores for really cheap, and then you can just paint it yourself. Then the next one is going to be jars. Jars are perfect for clear storage, so you can see what's inside them, and you can display adorable things that you love to see but would otherwise be like in a Ziploc bag or something. So these are vintage yo-yos that I've bought at a thrift store. And then this one isn't even vintage. This is a regular jam jar, and I just cleaned that out, and I've made these like felt strawberries before, so this is just for decor, but I think it's cute. And then there's some really cute vintage jars that I love. So like this is a vintage Jif peanut butter jar, and I love putting colorful thread inside. Oh, the next item is vintage doll cases. These are so cute. I got this one at a flea market, and this holds all of my plain fabric. So fabric that doesn't have patterns on it. I don't own a lot of plain fabric because I love patterns so much. So I don't have a ton. It all fits in this doll case, and it's perfect. Also, if you want another project to use a doll case for, I actually took this apart. I had a pink one, and I took it off the hinges, and I use it as a shelf. It's kind of hard to explain, but I wrote a blog post for it. I have it in my hallway. It looks really cute. So if you have a doll case and you're not sure what to do with, you should turn it into a shelf. Do you have any vintage items that you love to use for storage? Let me know in the comments what your favorite items are. Did you learn anything new? Are you going to put any of these items into practice? Let me know. Make sure that you're subscribed to my channel so that you can see the rest of the storage series. Thank you so much for watching, friends. Bye!